little bit about you, that you have 3 children and you have a husband, and you can tell everyone the rest of your situation to start with.
Well, when the children were very young, I always would like to have that extra hand or have that extra support, but I was so afraid to call for that extra support because I felt like if somebody thought I needed help, they would automatically assume that I wasn't a good parent. So instead of coming to help me, they would come to take the children away. So therefore I would not reach out for help. I would try and do it alone, which often caused more frustration than the kids.
When you were in college, did you have that kind of fear? Or was that since you were married and had children?
Well, when I was in college, it was just me. I wasn't responsible for anybody else.
Yeah, we know how that goes.
I was a typical college kid, me. In fact, after I had my first child, my mother said all of a sudden I wasn't selfish anymore. She goes, the birth of your son has created unselfishness. So it really came apparent after my first son was born that it was no longer about me. It was about me and somebody else. So I had to do my very best instead of just getting by.
Yeah, I hate that when that happens. So I know that we've talked very briefly about, you learned about our program of Parents Helping Other Parents and providing that emotional support, and you saw it as a perfect thing that other parents of parents with disabilities need that type of support too. And why do you think that that's important?
I think if parents with disabilities could talk to other parents who have been through it successfully, their fears may subside to a point where they will reach out and get the help that they need, which will in turn make their family life stronger and less fearful.
Do you see that it might make a difference in the eyes of those helpers when they know that there's more than one person who has a disability that's a parent? Do you think they might learn
Yes.
that? What do you think they might learn?
I think if we could educate everybody about people with disabilities can be wonderful parents too. They might just do things a little different to achieve the same objective as able-bodied parents.
So do you think parents who have disabilities care as much about their kids?
Yes, I know, because my whole life changed when I had my first son, and my second son was totally unplanned. So,
there's something unique too.
So yes, and it has being a mother is the best title I personally have ever had.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best at it.
It sounds like one of your best supporters was your own mother.
Yes, I had a very supportive mother who, there was something she didn't think I could do, but instead of telling me not to do it, she said, you figure out a way to do it yourself. And 9 times out of 10 I did. So I really, without her saying go ahead and try it, I wouldn't be where I am today.
One thing that Aldea had told me is all too often, even coworkers treat her differently. Well, you used the word they treat you like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And even though you were, quote, peers working side by side. And
I was working once for a day treatment facility, and because I had the degree, I was a supervisor over a couple women, and they could just not handle the fact that I was their supervisor working in an agency for people with developmental disabilities. So
Tell
that
me
was
a little
really
bit
tough.
about what you've developed as far as a
Well,
prevention
sometimes
plan.
when I get nervous or I get excited, I have a problem communicating. So when it's time for me to call for the help I really do need, I need to be able to tell my story. So instead of relying on my voice to tell my story, I've created a document to tell my story. And within the document, it will have a history of the family life, who's in the household, the ages of the people in the household, the cognitive levels of the people in the household, so that the first responders or the people coming into the situation can read the document and know exactly where we are at that point in time without having to rely on my voice or my husband's voice. The document will tell the story.
That's another one of the parallels of our parent-to-parent program, and one of the things that we've created is called a healthcare record-keeping notebook for similar reasons, because there's different times where that's needed. But one of the pieces in it is directions to your home, because for the same reason, when you're in a crisis, the last thing is you can't speak coherently or think coherently, and there you can just hand it over when there's a crisis happening.
And if you think it's that difficult for able-bodied parents,
Right.
you think how more difficult it is for disabled parents with speech impediments or cognitive limitations. So this document could be their voice.
And yes, and someone else's assumptions
Yes.
when they're coming into your home.
I actually had somebody from social services, somebody in the neighborhood hotline me. Social services came to the door. She had that look on her face, like, I'm gonna get you. She saw my kids and she realized it wasn't me. She took the time to figure out
Well, that's,
it was a behavior thing with the kids. It wasn't neglect on my part. But not all social services or police or firemen think that way. So this document will help them think that way.
and you raised the point, your fears are real.
They're really
Your
about
fears are real.
losing my children. Somebody would come to help me because they got the call, come and see that I needed help. And instead of talking to me and finding out what I need, they would assume that the kids belong in foster care and I belonged in a program somewhere. And that's what my fears are, is, because I've been very successful living independently with no programs.
Right.
The last thing I want is a program. Although they work for other people, they don't work for me. So my fear is if somebody came to the house, got the right impression, the kids would go to foster care. That's what I would like to do. I would like to start awareness, educating people about how easy it can be to support parents with developmental disabilities.
And the one thing that you were saying when you first started talking is that you feel of isolation and thinking you're the only parent going through this, and that's another, so much the same as our parent-to-parent is when any other parent finds out about their child, they think they're going through it alone, and that's really what you want, is to make sure others don't go through it alone.
Exactly. Thank you.